Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. Did you know that the U.S. Attorney for D.C., the one appointed by Biden and who indicted Steve Bannon for contempt, argued in official court documents that he had to recommend prison time for the former Trump advisor because, get this, he mocked the January 6th Congressional Committee. How dare he? Because Bannon called some of those committee members offensive names, and he ridiculed the justice system through hyperbole, as Matt Graves calls it. That means Bannon is possibly inspiring violence, and therefore he's a very dangerous man who needs to be locked away. But you know who doesn't inspire violence? All the lefties, including Biden and probably Matt Graves himself, who always tell us that President Trump and all of his supporters, meaning you and I, and his advisors, are all literally Hitler. Not figuratively, they say, but literally. And you know what the left says about Nazis? You punch them because they don't deserve any human rights. And I could rattle off a bunch of instances in which conservatives face that very kind of violence in a nation supposedly founded on free speech. But nope, that's not violent rhetoric according to those in charge. How very convenient. It's only violence when Bannon tells the truth, and so he must be locked away for 4 months beginning on July 1st. Last night I joked about why Benny Thompson or Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger weren't going to be cellmates with Bannon, given the fact that their committee may have been illicit because of how Nancy Pelosi appointed its members, and also given the fact that the committee hid evidence and destroyed tapes after the fact. But now let me add to that list to ask why Attorney General Merrick Garland isn't going to be locked up too. He's always telling us that he can't comply with congressional subpoenas to turn over tapes of Biden's poor mental state because he doesn't view the request as being legitimate. So it's justified when Garland doesn't comply with a subpoena, but it's literal violence if Bannon believes the law prevents him from complying with one. But all of this is just par for the course on the left's use of lawfare. Our next guest tonight has written an excellent piece for The Blaze detailing the lawfare present in President Trump's own trial. Joining us now to discuss is lawyer and author Dr. John O'Connor. Dr. O'Connor, thanks for being back tonight.
Good to be with you, Kara.
Great. So talk to us about your article, because in it you argue that a conspiracy to promote or prevent an election has been proven, but Trump was the victim, you wrote, not the perpetrator.
Sure, under New York law, which Trump was convicted of, the so-called second crime, was supposedly promoting or preventing an election by unlawful means. Now, the state just made up this crime. There's nothing to it, and practically directed the jury to find an election crime, even though none existed. So, query, is this sort of phony prosecution, isn't that an election crime? That is to say, this trial was intended to prevent Trump's election and promote Biden's by unlawful means. That is to say, unlawful instructions and unlawful evidence admitted in this trial. This case, Kara, is as unfair. I'm a former federal prosecutor. This is as unfair a case as I've ever seen. The prosecution and the judge made up crimes that then they instructed the jury that they had to find. If I followed these instructions faithfully, if I were a juror, I would have to convict Trump myself. Obviously, I could bring my own experience to it, but I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to say, well, I'm a lawyer. What the judge instructed here is wrong. I have to follow those instructions. And if I were a juror, I would have to find Trump guilty. It's impossible. One of the instructions, this is just one out of many, the judge instructed the jury that Cohen was an accomplice as a matter of law. A matter of law means it's not for the jury to decide. The court has decided, and the court said, under the law, Michael Cohen is an accomplice because there's evidence he participated in a crime based upon the conduct involved in the allegations here against the defendant. Isn't the judge telling the jury that Trump is committed a crime and that Cohen's his accomplice? You can't be an accomplice unless there's somebody else. He tells you that the somebody else is Trump. Now, there are other instructions in which you have to find him guilty. For instance, he can be found guilty if Cohen has made a loan or advance to Trump of over $2,700